Alright, boys and girls, in traditional fashion, I am very, very late, but here are the player podium rules for game week number 21 and for every single week going forward and previously. Up to 3 players per team rewarded points based on individual performance. Best player receives 3 points, second best receives 2, and third best receives 1. If a team has less than 3 outstanding players, their best performing player may receive less than 3 points, with players accumulating points every week and placed onto a leaderboard, and every week one player is awarded player of the week. Here are our point scorers from last week at the top as per usual, and if we go all the way across we can see Haaland still on his own up the front with Semenyo in second place, Ekatika, Bone and Rice following, and then your good performers from this season, your players like Ndiaye, your Fernandez, your Roofs, and then the supporting acts with Igor Thiago being last week's player of the week. Anyway, starting with last week's games, West Ham 1, Forest 2. This is a game that I was at work for, so I caught the odd glimpse of here and there, and it wasn't anything special. I didn't think it was going to be anything. We're starting that one again, mate. Put my phone on charge. Last Tuesday's game first with West Ham 1, Forest 2. This was not a very special game. I didn't expect it to be a very special game. These are two teams that aren't the most exciting to watch. Two teams not of the highest quality really either, and the goals kind of reflected in that. It was a penalty and two set pieces that the goals were scored from. Very, very West Ham Forest goals that you would expect to be scored. It was a pretty dull one. It was a pretty dull one. The result was kind of what mattered more because these are two teams that don't play good football. So you're not expecting a very dominant performance from either side. You thought it'd be very even. Just depends on who can take their chances more. And it was Forest in the end of the day. The own goal was quite unlucky. Murillo going for it. He seemed to go for the flick on there, which was a bit foolish. But I mean, it just happens. You know, there's nothing you can really do. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and continue. But yeah, I mean, just two drastically uninspiring teams. I mean, Forest have the edge to stay up over West Ham, I think, pretty comfortably. West Ham, this is a game that if you're looking to stay in the Premier League next season, you can't be losing this at home to Forest. Like, come on, boys, you should be, you know, a team that's staying in the Premier League next season should be looking at that for 3 points. With the way that Forest have been managed, the way that Forest have been controlled this season, and the kind of inviting football that they play. They want you to have the ball. They want you to take the chances. And if you can score off one or two of them, that's game, set, and match for most of it. So this is a Forest team that West Ham really, really should be beating. And I mean, if you go player for player, I mean, you could probably make the argument for West Ham having a bit of a better squad going forward, especially. So the fact that they've lost this game is a disappointment, and I didn't think Castellanos was too awful. He just didn't get the service to prove to me that this signing is gonna make anything happen. In the FA Cup, that Pablo lad came on. Apparently he was wank. Uh, but yeah, it's just not looking good for West Ham. I don't have high hopes for them in the slightest. One player who's actually been on the end of quite a few points scores this season for mine is Somerville. He's been exciting. He's shown more this season, more than any other since leaving Leeds, what he can really do. I mean, he's still not scored in a very long time. I think he had one that was disallowed in that game, which you need your players to you need your forward players to be hitting numbers. At the end of the day, you can perform so well, but if you're not hitting numbers, then that's you're not really fully doing your job. And Somerville has been creative, has been pretty like been a bit of a threat down the left side, especially when him and Diouf interlap and he cuts inside a little bit, makes a room for Diouf out on the wing. It's a promising combo. Somerville just often doesn't have the end product to make the best of it, but I mean, with Skulls on that left side, I don't think he can really do much more. He's not as penetrative of a fullback as Diouf, so he's doing all he can really. No 3 point scorer for Forest. I didn't think they were that. I didn't think they were all that. To be honest, Gibbs White with another goal. I think he's Forest's top scorer this season, which isn't not difficult, not difficult to do. I reckon I could be Forest's top goal scorer this season if they stuck me up front. Chris Wood is coming back at some point now, so there's someone else for Gibbs White to feed. And the penalty was good. That's kind of it. I mean, his performance level has certainly dipped from last season. I mean, he's gone from like England squad shouts to I wouldn't take him to the World Cup. I think there's 7 players that I'd rather play in that attacking midfield spot ahead of him. So yeah, he needs to keep plugging away at these goals and assists, keep trying to build his stock back up in time for the summer. Nicholas Dominguez, I used to sign him all the time on career mode. I used to love this guy. Him and Palacios, Ezequiel Palacios, the two Argentinians. I used to sign them like every single save that I'd ever do. But he moved to Forest, hasn't really done too much. They have a lot of players, especially like in that midfield spot. They're competing against the likes of Sangare, Louises, your Andersons, your Yateses, all of these players. And a goal from a set piece to bring them back into the game was very important at the time. Maybe that gives him the jump to get a bit more game time. But yeah, solid performance. A goal from DM is always a good thing, and it was a very important time, so he gets 2 points. Spursy, 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 dearie me. I mean, in terms of send offs for Semenyo, I don't think it could have been any better, really. That goal at the end to win Bournemouth the game against Spurs. Bournemouth, a team who have been in really poor form, suddenly all of a sudden, like surprisingly, they were 7 points away from the relegation zone. And I kind of looked at the table; they were what second at one point. They were ahead of Villa pretty comfortably. I think when we started to turn it around, they were still in like fourth place. That was where we were aiming to be, and they've just tanked winless in 10, I think it was 9 or 10, which for an Iriola team with a great manager with a good set of players, it's kind of disappointing. They really need to spend very very wisely. They've got 65 odd million from Semenyo, and they can make improvements at the back. They can sign a good wide player. Doak has come in on the wing and done nothing really. It's been all about Clivert, Tavernier, and Semenyo on the wings for Bournemouth this season when they played there. But yeah, this is they really need to leap forward from here. Spurs, I don't know how much more grace Thomas Frank is going to get. He's not proved himself. He started the season fairly well. Started with a few good results. They were poor at home, but at least they were winning away. They've stopped winning away, and they haven't started winning at home. They're out the FA Cup now, and mate, they're struggling on a serious. I would be surprised if he lasts the season, and then if he doesn't get sacked before the end of next season. At the end of the World Cup, there's going to be managers that come about, and someone like even Poch, who's struggled with the US, I think he could slot in and do a great job at Spurs again. So touchy times for Frank at the moment. After last season's revolution at centre back with Zabani and Hoyson, Senesi's kind of slotted back in and been really good this season. He's dropped off, obviously, as Bournemouth's form has dropped off, I think, as Semenyo's did as well. But he was scoring a lot of points, hasn't done so. But I think in that game he's really good, really defensively solid. I mean, Spurs aren't the hardest team to defend against. They don't. They have good players, but They don't feel dangerous when they go forward. Like against Villa, especially when they were going forward, they don't go forward with conviction. So it wasn't probably Senesi's most difficult game in the world, but he did what he needed to do. I think he got an assist. Yeah, he got an assist. I don't know if it's for Semenyo or not, but even so, an assist and assist, and yeah, good point for Senesi. Evan Nilsson with 2 points. Striker I really like, in spite of the fact he doesn't score too often, but he got a goal in that game. Uh, Nicely taken for strike, and I do really like Evan Nilsson. Like if we saw Watkins, I'd be looking at Evan Nilsson for the Villa. And he's been getting a bit of stick off some Bournemouth fans I've seen online that don't think he's been good enough. I think he's been good. I think his movement creates a space a lot of the time for players like Semenyo and Tavernier to box crash and penetrate from the wings. And I think if you just had a 6'5" number 9, you're not getting that benefit. They'd just be forced to lob balls to him. That's what I like about what Evan Nilsson offers. And it was more of the same from him in that game against Spurs. Put him in his City kit because he's off and out, but Antoine Semenyo says goodbye to Bournemouth in probably the best way he could. It's been a great calendar year for him. I think the start of 2025, absolutely on fire. Just tearing it up for Bournemouth. First picking everyone's FPL teams, and he started really well for City. I know it's 2 cup games, but he scored against Newcastle. I think he scored a brace against Exeter as well, and you can only beat what's in front of you. So he's going to do well. He's a really good player, and that goal, just lovely. Just kind of proving what he's just showing Pep like this is what you spent your money on, and you're going to enjoy it a lot. And rounds his Bournemouth career off with 3 points, which I'm sure he's really buzzing about. Xavi Simons, I thought was actually pretty technically sound in that game. A lot of the chances came through him. Um, not, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if he got an assist or not. I believe he did, but anyway, it was a while ago now. I have forgotten to do my research. That's poor on my part. So I don't really have loads and loads to say about individual performances. However, Xavi Simons was good in that game, and he gets a point, very warranted. So Palinha with that bicycle kick, that was something else. I'll tell you what, that was a serious little finish. Like if your DM's pulling that out, that's pretty crazy. It copied Romero, but just better. Yeah, it was good stuff from Palinha. He started fairly well when Spurs did well, kind of like in the Senesi sense, but he's dropped off a little bit. Um, the double anchors in the midfield hasn't worked. I think he's been definitely better than Bentancur, but from what I've seen, you want to be starting someone like Bergvall who can play a bit more progressively in that role. They've signed Conor Gallagher now. I'll be interested to see how those two work together. That's going to be. I don't know. I don't know how. I can't remember much of Conor Gallagher off the top of my head at Chelsea. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'll watch it Atletico, but if he can carry the ball forward and be that kind of box to box sense player, then I think Palinha's performances will look better as a result. Antel was great in that game, got a goal, and I can't believe Spurs are looking at loaning him out. I think that's a pretty ridiculous decision. He's been one of their brightest sparks going forward. I think Richardson scored pointless goals. Odebear's end product's been poor, as has Kolo Muani's, and Slanky's been on the injury table. So it's been on tell at times, and he's doing what he can, poor guy, but he's confined himself to Spurs, which was silly. Yeah, but either way, he gets 3 points for that performance. Palace nil, Villa nil. Not a very good game at all, really. I couldn't even watch this at work because I was polishing cutlery at the time. Thank you for that, Charlotte. But anyway, it's just I'm very happy with the result. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a point at Palace is as good as a win. It's the first time we've not made me want to bleach my eyes against Palace for a few seasons now. And yeah, I mean, it was honestly it was a pretty poor game. There was not a lot going forward. Palace shut us down very well. We dealt with their threats very well. That's kind of it. We move on to Everton on the weekend. We did well against Spurs. To be honest, the fact that we got away without like losing, I'm not in the sense of that we didn't deserve a point, but the fact that we haven't lost is it's not even drop points in my mind. That's actually gain points, and the fact that Arsenal didn't win against Liverpool keeps us in good stead at the top of the table for the time being. Anyway, for Palace, if they can't beat us, then you know they're in a bit of a tricky form. Glasner's not very happy. Gahey's future's uncertain. You know, it could start. The wheels could maybe start to fall off a little bit for Palace. Just depends on what happens with Glasner, really. Henderson was very good in that game. Any kind of sniff we had, he dealt with it. It was just a good Henderson performance, to be fair. We didn't give him that much to do, but he rose to the occasion when he needed to, and for that he deserves 1 point. The talisman, Mark Gahey. I'm surprised he's still there. To be honest, I thought people from January 1st, the second it ticked over to midnight, would have been sniffing around him, sending contract offers in, but he kept us at bay. We always struggle against Palace as it is, but yeah, Gay he had another great performance against the Villa. It's what you expect of him by now, so it's 2 points. Don't get me wrong, I'm delighted we've got Pau Torres back because he's such an asset to us from centre back. But the performances Lindelof's put in since Torres' injury, as I've been really impressed. Hasn't had regular first team football for years now. Or he's been an afterthought at United for a while, and to come in to be brought in on deadline day to kind of sit on the bench, play Europa League games, play in the cup, and then Torres' injury straight in, and he just doesn't look like he's missed a step. It's strange how like average he looked at United compared to how composed he looks at us. Like if you ask Lindelof at United to pass it out the back, I think he'd piss his pants. But he's been great for us, and it was the same in that game. Nearly scored as well at the. Oh my god, a Lindelof goal would have sent me into absolute like ecstasy. That'd have been amazing. But yeah, I think he would have got a lot more than 1 point if he scored. Let me tell you that. From what I remember, Palace had more chances in the game, so Bizzo had more to do, and when he came on, which, by the way, what does Martinez keep doing to himself at half time or before games? Because this guy is the most active second keeper in the league. Like, I'm not sure how a goalkeeper can be so frequently injury prone. But I tell you what, thank God we brought in a adequate backup. Because if we had Olsen in for all these games, we'd be so much further down the table than we actually are. Another great performance from the guy again. Just so reliable whenever he needs to be called upon, and that game was no different. Everton won, Wolves won. Whatever you think of the red cards, if you're grabbing hair, you're grabbing hair. Like, it doesn't matter how hard you pull it. If you go up and you get a fistful of hair, then whether it's on purpose or not, you still grabbed hair. Like, you can't prove intent, and it just looks like you've pulled the hair, which you can't do. Cucurella's taught us that much, and I'll speak about the Grealish one in a little bit. But a very good point for Wolves. I thought this was a guaranteed loss, pretty much, and they really, really did put the pressure on for quite a while. Pickford forced into a couple of saves, and something seems to be clicking down at Molineux. I've said for a little bit their performances have been better than the points that they've put on the board. Edwards has got them doing fairly well after a poor window and obviously the shit form that they were in for ages. I don't. They suddenly look like they're not going to be the worst team in Premier League history. Maybe one of like the fifth worst, the sixth worst. But even then, there's hope, a bit of hope for this side. Even if it's next season the Championship, there is a bit of hope for this side. There's decent players here or there, and Edwards is a solid gaffer. For Everton, this is not the kind of game that you want to be dropping points. And if you are pushing for Europe, you can't be dropping points against Wolves. Like United have dropped points against Wolves, and Amorim partly got sacked for it. So obviously, I'm not saying Moore should get sacked, but it shows you how like poor dropping points against Wolves really is. When called upon this season, Irabunam's done really well. Since Gay's gone to AFCON, he's kind of stepped into that midfield with Ghana. It's been him and Ghana instead of Ghana and Dewsbury Hall or Gay and Dewsbury Hall. So yeah, with the limited time in that midfield, I think Irabunam's done really solid. He's I do like I was sad when we let him go. I think Bogard is better, but I didn't want to let Irabunam go. It's always sad to see your youth academy players leave like that. But he put in a shift in that game in the midfield for Everton. I don't think really they won the midfield battle. I think it was fairly even, ever so slightly in Wolves' favour, but that's not for lack of Irabunam effort. It wasn't really down to him. So yeah, said it earlier, but Pickford put in a bit of a behemoth of a performance. Saved some really good chances. Just constantly, just an ever present, always reliable. He made like one or two mistakes this season. That's it. And yeah, really good saves. He's just such a good keeper. I can't believe people don't think he should start for England. Like I said about Irabunam, I think the midfield battle was ever so slightly nudged by Wolves, if not even. And João Gomez was a big role of had a big role in that. I think he's been looked at by United a little bit, and I mean I'm not going to say he should be after one performance, but it's a good performance. Like in the Premier League, if you start to put in a few good performances, then teams sit up and take notice, which is what I'm going to say about the second player here. But yeah, definitely deserving of a point there as well. About this man, people should be sitting up and people should be taking notice. Matheus Mane has really stepped it up since that Liverpool game where he got his first start, I think it was. He come on and looked alright, but since he's been given kind of the reins, he's doing it all. And his tenure at Molineux is going to be very short because he is a player that is better than the Championship. He's a player that's better than Wolves is at the moment as well. And another goal in another start, he's going to be headhunted in my opinion. And would you look at that? -1 points. Silly Jack Grealish. What? Dissent is possibly the stupidest thing you can get carded for twice as well. I mean, when you stand like when you stand up and you do like all of this, what do you think gonna happen? You're gonna get the red card. If you're already on a yellow, it doesn't matter. You're gonna get the second yellow. I mean, so I just don't know what he was thinking. I really don't know what he was thinking. He's a silly boy for that. And even more, he said there's no defending it. Like, if you give shit to the referees, they will card you. That's just how it goes. You should know better. Good result for Fulham this was against Chelsea, 2-1 up, and in a derby, I guess. I don't know what their little relationship is. I think they're in the same postcode. I don't know. I don't care. I don't even think Chelsea fans care. But this is a big result for Fulham. Obviously, one of their local London people. rivalries, if Chelsea fans even consider it as that. But yeah, this is big for Fulham. Obviously they're taking advantage of the fact that there was no stable manager in there at the time. I'll speak about Rossini's appointment in a little bit. But yeah, it's a good result. Um, Harry Wilson again putting in a show. Solid stuff. I mean, Chelsea. I didn't expect them to win or to get points in both games under McFarlane. It's obviously he's a youth coach, so it's more difficult for him to come in and impose. And there's a good point made on Match of Day by Stephen Warnock that he necessarily doesn't spot the when changes are needed in real time. When he can sit back and think about it for a second, like he does with the analysis and stuff, then it might be a bit easier. But he didn't have that luxury in the game, and I think he's done really as well as he can. Like going away to Fulham in their home form as well wasn't going to be an easy game. Away at City as well wasn't going to be an easy game. But yeah, a loss. Obviously, at the start of the season, you look at this game, you think Chelsea win it. Obviously, circumstances change. So yeah, Sander Berge was good in midfield for Fulham. It wasn't a very structured midfield from performance from Chelsea as it usually is with Caicedo in there. So it's a bit easier for Berge to kind of take control a little bit in the midfield for Fulham because they didn't have the high flying Caicedo as he usually kind of is, and obviously you don't expect your under 21s manager to be able to out tactic someone with the ability of Marco Silva. He's a very good gaffer. Obviously he did against Pep Guardiola, but you can't expect him to keep that up. Berger did well in that game. He's one of the kid that's been going for a while now. I think it's at Sheffield United when they went down. Where was he at before? God, I don't remember where he was at before. It might have been Sheffield United it was Sheffield United when he come through with Ahmed Hozic and Lundstrom, and I used to sign him as well all the time on career mode. And then he went to Burnley, which is weird. But yeah, his hype's kind of fallen off, but he's still showing he's a bit of a player. Raul Jimenez with 2 points, won them the game in the end. Continued his really good vein of goal scoring. He's a very purple patch guy, so he's doing really well at the moment. But I do wonder how long it lasts. I haven't rated him for a long time. I know obviously he has his accident, his concussion, I think it was, and he hasn't been the same player since, which I don't expect him to be. But I'd never just really rated him after that. But he's doing really well at the moment at Fulham. He's getting great service as well. We can't forget that. He's got players like Chukwueze, Kevin, and Wilson that are all great players, giving him the ball, and he's really taking it in stride. He's doing really well, so it's 2 points for him. And shouldn't be surprised, Harry Wilson, 3 points. I think it was a goal and assist in the game, and just again another quality performance. He's up. His contract expires at the end of the summer. I'd be surprised to see him take like a big move. He's getting on a little bit now. He's not the wonder kid he was at Liverpool, but he's certainly a player that he could be really useful for various other teams in the Premier League, like even at someone like Sunderland. I don't know. That's not me saying he should go to Sunderland. That's just a throwaway team. Like anyone in that kind of midfield bracket, he'd be great at. He'd be one of the best players in one of the lower teams in the league. But I don't know if he's got it for a big role. I don't know. I guess we just have to wait and see. I don't think he'll on a free. I guess it's fine for squad depth. Like someone like I don't know, even like Liverpool to bring off the bench. Obviously, it's not realistic, but he'd be decent there. But I think his time's probably passed on a move like that. Hato kind of shown on the promise that he demonstrated Ajax. It's been a tumultuous start for him at Chelsea. Hasn't really got a lot of game time. Hasn't looked very convincing, but he did in that game. He looked really decent under McFarlane. He looked solid in the cup as well. Hato did, so I think he's starting to build a little bit of traction. I'm going to use this chance to speak about now Rossini. It's clear the kind of manager they're looking for. They're looking for a bit of a lapdog. Rossini is probably going to be since he comes from Strasbourg. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because Rossini's not a bad manager by any stretch of the imagination. If they can get him into the role that they need him to do and back him with the players that he wants, obviously that's probably not going to happen given the structure of the club. But if they do that, then I think it could be a successful project. And Liam Delap with a goal, 13th goal in the Premier League. Yeah, his movement was good in that game. He looked decent against City, I think, when he came on. Yeah, when he pushed Kusanov into the stands, obviously that wasn't very nice, but he looked good in that game, and I think he got the start. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, when he started, came on, whatever, he did play well when he was on the pitch, and he got his goal. He's well taken. He's in the right place at the right time. It's what you want from your strikers. It's been a difficult start for him. He's been injured quite a bit, but yeah, good performance from Delap and something to build on for sure because Pedro's been out of form. So if he can capitalise on that, get a run of games in, then that's solid stuff. Thank you, Brighton, because we needed City to drop points in that game, and they did, which is brilliant stuff. Brighton actually looked quite good in that game. That's the thing. Like City didn't look fantastic in the slightest. They looked pretty nervy at the back. Well, not at the back. They looked pretty nervy midfield. I thought they were getting bypassed quite a lot. Brighton were playing quite a bit of long ball almost. And City seemed to struggle with it a lot. The centre backs put in a good shift. I'll speak about them in a bit, but outside of that, it was a pretty slow game from a City perspective. Brighton, they did a really good job. This is a kind of performance that you know keeps you a problem, keeps people speaking about you, and keeps people wary about you. Matoma coming back in and scoring, that's what you need. Not been great this season, hasn't really taken the ball and run with it. Been outshone by Minter on the other side, but yeah, it's reminding us that he is a quality player, and there is a lot of fight in this Brighton team. One of the centre backs, Kusanov, came in last season, had that horror debut against Chelsea. I want to say Chelsea, but I don't know. I think it was. Yeah, it was Chelsea because he fumbled with Nicholas Jackson anyway. Doesn't matter. Um, he's had to come in because of the injuries, obviously, and he did a really decent job. I thought he was pretty solid in that game, putting some really good challenges, put himself on the line, and that's kind of what you want from centre back. It's big for him as well because he didn't really have many chances to show himself last season, with his permanently worried face. But yeah, he gets a point for me. Max Delaney jumps into the City squad and did really well. I thought he was very comfortable, very calm, very composed from the back. I don't know why they keep pulling these players out their arse from, but they do, and it's working really well for him. Elaine was really good in that game. He looks very solid on the ball, decent progressively as well, but then he's like a pretty composed defender. Obviously, it's one game. I'm not going to get so excited over him, but he's a good little player, a good little prospect probably as well. I don't know how long City will go without replacing Diaz or Gvardiol. If they want to rely on these two for a little bit, that might be the case. I think one of them's out for the season. I think it's Gvardiol. So they probably are going to bring in a centre back. They're looking at Gahey. Don't know if that'll happen, but yeah, I mean, if in the meantime, if they don't, I think they've got two very good stop gaps. Gross came in first start since rejoining Brighton and kind of just dictated it from deep. He was very good in that game against very good opposition. I think when he came in, I didn't necessarily think he'd move the needle that much. I thought it would be like, okay, this is a guy that knows the club. They're going to bring him in a bit of experience. He's going to get minutes. He'll be that kind of player that they bring on when you two one up in a pretty tasty game and you just need someone to bring a bit of grit, but yeah, bring composure to the squad at the same time. But he started against City, away at City, one of the hardest games in the season, and he did really well. So maybe he's proving me wrong. Maybe he's got more of a role at Brighton than I thought he would. Maybe Hersler didn't use him. He was there before Hersler, but maybe Hersler's got a space for him. Rutter with 2 points. All of well, not all of obviously, but a lot of the good stuff that Brighton did, he was a part of as well, making the runs for Gross and the other midfielders to find him. He was pretty dynamic, pretty dangerous. He's picked up a few points in the recent weeks, and you can't really say he doesn't deserve them. He was he was a weird signing for Leeds, I think it was at the time when he came in from Hoffenheim, a lot of money. But he's kind of finding his feet more so now at Brighton. Didn't really get any game time at Leeds to show himself, but he's finding himself in this squad, in this with his young manager, and it's kind of the right environment for him to be in at the moment, and he deserves 2 points in that game for sure. Kairi Matoma with his goal got them the point in the end, and it was a pretty classic Matoma performance. Always dangerous on that wing, always a goal threat on that wing. Not something we've seen enough of this season though. That's worth mentioning. But yeah, I'm sure if he can keep himself fit and get the game time, then he can just keep these performances coming. I think it was Darren Fletcher's last league game, or was it his first game? I think it's first game for as United manager. Drawing 2-2 to Burnley. With him in his position, I don't really think anyone could have expected any better. However, given the calibre of opposition, maybe you could have. I think United did fairly well in some of the chances they had. They had a lot of chances. They could have won the game at times, lacking a bit of clinicality from certain players. The one they usually lack clinicality from was really good. But this is a good performance from Burnley. They showed a lot of grit to keep themselves in the game, keep United team full of very good players pinned back. Um, I think it's definitely a better point for Burnley than it is United. They're, I think, capitalising on the Amorim situation. However, they got Carrick coming in now, United. So I wonder how much transfer like freedom will be given. Will they want to let him sign a few players this window? Do they plan on keeping him around as well? I guess it will be the Ollie type move for them. They'll see how he does, and if he does well enough, they'll probably keep him. If he doesn't, they'll look for someone new at the end of the season. But yeah, for a starting base for United, you shouldn't have expected anything from this game, and your hopes you can be a bit more hopeful now. You've got a manager until the end of the season, not in the actual squad. Jaden Ante scoring that really nice goal. His vein of form dried up a long time ago, but he put in a good performance. Like he looked like a threat again, and that goal kind of rounded it off really nicely for him in that game. So he gets 1 point. Bashir Humphries, I think, scored as well, putting a block off the line from memory, which was really good, and kind of out of nowhere, put in a very solid defensive shift. Wasn't at fault for either of the goals. Yeah, if you're a defender and you score a goal and the two goals that happened you couldn't do anything about. That's a good game. At the end of the day, that's almost as valuable as a performance from you as it is keeping a clean sheet. Obviously, you'd rather keep the clean sheet, but if you can contribute to the result in any way, that's solid. So he gets 2 points for being more of a contributor than anyone else. This is the kind of link up that I was imagining Amarin would have wanted from playing Bruno deep, him just feeding long balls to Sesko, which obviously didn't bring out the best in Bruno, and that didn't really happen. But yeah, Bruno with assists again is what he does, putting the numbers on the board, being the creative spark for United. I do wonder if United fans consider him a club legend at this point, despite the lack of kind of important major silverware. But yeah, it's a bit of a side thought anyway. His performance was solid and deserves 1 point. Almost out of nowhere, Sesko came in with a brace. He scored the same amount of goals since Amrin's left as he did under Amrin himself, even though he's an Amrin signing. This is a kind of Sesko performance that I've seen on Football Manager a million times, that I've seen for Leipzig in the Bundesliga quite a lot. He gets his chance, powerful, commanding striker, and he takes his shot and he scores. And if United can channel that and bring that back in a little bit, then force to be reckoned with. I think this was a pretty crazy game. Newcastle 4 Leeds 3. I don't know how they pulled out so many minutes of added time, but they managed it, and that's fucking limbs that was. It was pretty hectic. I mean, 7 goal thriller. Leeds went. Leeds took the lead. What was it? Was it 3 times? Yeah, they took the lead 3 times. And so, from that perspective, you'd have wanted them to keep the lead. But obviously, if you think about the expectation going into that game, you wouldn't expect them to really do much. However, like if you've been given 3 chances to see the game out and you can't do it, it shows that despite the good work Farke's done recently, they are still a little bit shaky, a little bit naive at times. They could have closed the game out a lot better. Newcastle haven't been very potent as of late. Been very up and down, and Leeds could have capitalised on that and didn't. Really good fight from Newcastle to get back in it though. This is kind of the Newcastle way. Like Newcastle can get through games at times through grit alone. That's just the kind of team and the club that they have, and they managed it. I mean, Leeds have turned into a very decent outfit, so I guess drawing wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. But the fact that they got that late win and they dug it out, that's very impressive on a Newcastle perspective. This guy has been great. Like they've missed out on Lewis Miley. He was at right back. They brought Trippier on. He went into midfield. He was just as comfortable in both. For a makeshift right back, he's done really well since Livramento's been out. He's been in that kind of Soboslai transition, and he moved into midfield and just looked just as comfortable. He's a great little player. I think United offered 50 mil and Mainu for Miley, which is a crazy offer. But I wouldn't accept it if I were Newcastle. I'd keep Miley because Miley's been fantastic. Local Geordie boy. Why wouldn't you want to keep him? Bruno G, goal and assist, captain performance to drag them back into the game. That's just kind of what you want from Bruno G. He does it every week, pretty much at this point. He scored so many points on the leaderboard, and deservedly so. Another massive performance from him. In front of goal as well. Like he scores a few goals. He does. It's crazy. However, it is our player of the week, Harvey Barnes. Ooh, scored one equaliser, scored the winner. Um, all round just looked great in that game. I struggle to believe how or why anyone thinks that Gordon's better than him and why Gordon would have got game time over him. Uh, I'd be running Barnes, Murphy, and Walton Arda going forward. I just don't rate Gordon as much as I rate Barnes. And that performance that he put in against Leeds, his ability in the box to find himself in space is really good. He's always a problem on the wing, always is. He can take a player on. He's a very good overall winger. Um, he should really get a lot more game time than he does, and that performance kind of like suggests that a lot as well. So it's 3 points and player of the week. It's Ilya Gruev with 1 point. It was an assist and a solid overall performance from midfield. It was a very basketbally game. A lot of chances for both teams, so there was not a lot of control to be had in the midfield, but he did what he could and was able to contribute from that position anyway. So, and for that, I've given him a point. Dominic Calvert-Lewin once again scores a goal. He's doing his best to prove me wrong, which he hasn't done yet. It's always a purple patch in every player, but he's doing well. He's doing really well for Leeds at the moment. Another goal against Newcastle, and yes, couldn't really do much more for the effort. Like I think he started. Was it a penalty that he scored? I'm not sure, but if you take the chance and you score the goal, no one's really going to complain, are they? So it's 2 points. If Barnes didn't score that last goal, it probably would have been player of the week. But Brendan Aronson, what a shift he put in. 2 goals, and that handball was bullshit. There's nothing he could have done about that. Like that's to call that handball, I think is pretty ridiculous because he has to jump. It's as close to his body as it can be, given the fact he's jumping, and also it was close to being outside the box. Like it was a very unlucky for Brendan, and Farkas said as much. But 2 goals, man. I said, especially against Villa, we started to perform well, and 2 goals kind of, well, like I said, will make people sit up and take notice. So well done, Brendan. Not at all a result that I was expecting. Brentford 3, Sunderland 0. I thought Brentford would get points at least in this game because they've been in great form, and Sunderland struggled a little bit away. But to this level, man, 3-0 against Sunderland, one of the teams in the league with more fight than the rest. One of the teams that when they're losing, like they're second in the leaderboard for teams that have gained the most points from losing position. So when they go a goal down, you think they can still draw this game. They can still feasibly even win the game. But no, Brentford saw them out really well. Keith Andrews has got something really good going on in that Brentford team, and you pick yourself up and dust yourself off if you're Sunderland. I mean, those results will happen to anyone, especially newly promoted clubs. You can't forget that that's what they are at the end of the day. They are newly promoted. They're new to the league. They need to still adjust. And by the time the season's done, they can improve even more on the squad and solidify themselves back in the league. Something that, you know, results like this will help them build character, if anything. So shows that the league overall is really good quality. It will show them what it takes to consistently be in the league. I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Sunderland fan. Damsgaard comes off the bench and had an impact. He always does when he comes off the bench. I kind of want him. I really like the kid. I always liked him. So again, sign him a lot. I want him to start more games because he started the season like starting quite a few games and was pretty good. I don't know if he got injury or fell out of favour a little bit or whatever, or they just like the formation they've got at the moment with the players in their positions. But yeah, Damsgaard's always a player to bring on and have an impact. So it's 1 point. Another great performance from Kevin Schade. He's gone really under the radar. Obviously, Thiago's taken all the credits, but he's been doing really well this season. I believe he scored or assisted, one or two. But yeah, did his job once again. Really solid performance. He was when he came into league, I liked him, but he scored very infrequently. But this season, he started to put numbers down. Like he started to put some pretty decent numbers down on the table, and I don't think a lot of people have realised like to the extent of with that. So the more he goes on the radar, it'll be better for him. But yeah, it's 2 points. Once again, Igor Thiago 3 points. He's stepped up a level this season. High scoring goals, like high scoring Brazilian in the Premier League in one season, and it's January. It's pretty ridiculous from the lad. Surely he's got to be looking at starting for Brazil in the World Cup. If not, he's got to be on the plane. You can't not bring him in the vein of form he's in. And Brazil lack a presence up front. Who are you going to put there? Richarlison, have a day off. Especially when this guy is playing as well he is. And that's another 3 points. Could have again been player of the week for 2 weeks in a row. I think he got it last week. Yeah, he did. So he'd have been the first player to get not only two player of the weeks, I think, but back to back ones. And that would have been obviously the most prestigious honour of his career. Two in 1 week. Enzo Lefebvre, you sausage. I mean, what? In the position that you're in, you don't Panenka. If you're winning the game, if you're 2-0 up and it's a 90th minute, fucking go for it. Like, take the piss, be a dickhead, you know, fuck about, have a bit of fun. But that's not the thing that you do when it's 1-0 down and the tide is slowly starting to turn. Like, the Faye missing that penalty, I think, is the very, very major reason as to why Sunderland didn't even get any points from that game. Because at 1-1, that's a completely different game. But Lefebvre did what he did, tried a Panenka, which I didn't expect it. Obviously, I think that's what he's going for, thinking like, "What? No one's going to see this coming at 1-0." But it's a stupid thing to try. It's a really stupid thing to try at that point in the game. I'm all for it. I love a bit of showboating. I love a bit of shithousery, as one might say. But I think that's the wrong place and the wrong time. And the big dogs put on the snooze fest. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. I'm happy with that scoreline from a Villa perspective. Obviously, I'd like Liverpool to win a lot more, but 1 point is 1 point. Um, honestly, not a lot to say. Frimpong looked alright on the right hand side for Liverpool, as he does usually. It was a pretty slow game though. I can't lie. There was not as action packed as you'd expect this big game to be. Yeah, I mean, from a Liverpool perspective, it's a good result. They're taking 4 points off Arsenal this season. From an Arsenal perspective, it's Liverpool. It's not the worst thing in the world, but at home, if that's a win, if they win when Villa and City drop points, that's a massive leap forward. That's a bigger title lead, and that's a gap that you'd think, okay, they're starting to really solidify themselves at the top here, but they missed their opportunity. I think in that sense, it's just a slow game. Honestly, I have nothing really to comment on the matter. It just was pretty poor. I do think Hincapié was solid at centre back for Arsenal. Um, Again, I do think he lacks the aura of a Gabriel Saliba, as homo as it sounds, but he's a really, really decent little centre back. Did well at Leverkusen, obviously, when they went invincible. And whenever he slots in, he's solid for Arsenal. And he was exactly the same against Liverpool. Some pretty crucial saves from Alisson in the game from memory. One against Saka springs to mind. It was a game of fairly limited chances, though, overall. So he didn't have a whole heap to do in the sense that Henderson and Bizzo didn't really either, but when he was called upon, he did a good job. And another good performance from Conor Bradley. I mean, I don't know why he was putting a few stinkers here or there at the start of the season. Szoboszlai was trusted at right back instead of him, but he's built his way back up in the estimations, I think, of Liverpool fans and slot. And he's putting a few good shifts at right back. He had a poor one against City, especially. That's when it kind of thought, okay, we need to give him a few games on the sidelines. But he's come back in and he's performed pretty well. Like I can't fault the kid. I do think he's really good. He's a lot more of a defensive option there than Trent have been or Frimpong's been. But I think it offers them a bit of security, especially with Konate on that side. So it's 2 points there. Because my nature is to be very, very unprepared, unfortunately, we have to do both in one episode. So Game Week 21, Game Week 22 in the same video. Here we go. I know they're the wrong way around. I've just had to change it. I didn't realise it was that way. I'm not redoing the whole slide. Anyway, City nil, United 2. You know, Pep. Poor form they've hit now, City have. That's, what was it, 3 draws in a row? Got packed in by Bodo Glimt the other day as well. It's not looking good for City at the moment. They're starting to slow down. They just bought Gahey in and they needed them after Elaine and, well, really Elaine's performance the other day. Stinking. This game in particular, United looked really good, really positive. That fullback just worked so much better. Miney was brilliant. He didn't get points. I put other people there first, but Miney was just really good. I was really impressed with his performance from what I saw in the game. City just they looked really like drab going forward. They looked really dead. They had Semenyo and that on the pitch, and they just didn't look like they were creating anything of anything. It was a pretty poor City performance, all things considered, and Arsenal. Even when Arsenal dropped points, this is a good chance. There was a good chance for City to push forward and move up to them in the table. They would have been 1 point off, I want to say. No, not 1 point off. They would have been, well, if they won that game, they'd have kept closed up a little bit. I can't be asked to do the maths, but yeah, they'd have been a lot closer to Arsenal than they are now in the table. I think it would have been 4. Yeah, close from 6. Yeah, it'd have been 4 points off. They would have been in the table, and that's tantalising as well. That looks a lot better when you sign Gahey and you sign Semenyo, and you're now only 4 points off. That's so much more doable than 7. And the performance they're just putting against United. For United, it's a good positive sign. Is this just your average manager bounce at United? No, I don't really know what's going to happen with Carrick. I don't think he'll get the job because I don't think they'll get Champions League football. I think that's one of the main criteria that they want when the manager bounce runs out, which it will do at some point. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they hired him, but I wouldn't if I was United. I think you can find some good options out there, but it's United, so you never really know what's going to happen. Like, none of them could work. It's all a bit of a guessing game for that club. Realistically speaking, if it wasn't for Donnarumma in goal for Man City, it could have been a good 4 or 5-0. He put in a massive, massive performance and really put City on his back for a long time. If City got any point from that game, I think he would have been spoken about in so much better of a light. But he did really everything that he could in that shocking, shocking performance that City put in, and probably deserves more than 1 point. But I've handcuffed myself with the system, so poor bastard. To lock up Haaland in the game is impressive enough, but to do it as Lissandro Martinez with the stigma that comes around your stature and the lack of game time he's had for a while due to injury, I think that's a very, very impressive showing from the lad. I think he really deserves a point. I know United were great going forward. You might want to see a few more attacking minded players in there. Like Bruno was good. He's not on the list, but mate, really, really monster shift from Martinez in that game. Really, really put the work in. And yeah, I mean, keeping Haaland quiet isn't very easy. I know he's not in a good spell of form at the moment, but he could score. He could score. He just needs one chance, and he'll put the ball in the back of the net. And Martinez did his best to reduce that from happening. So fair play to Gies, gets 1 point. Brian Mbeumo, number 2, gets got a goal, opened the scoring, settled the result pretty much. Because once United scored, City just didn't. I mean, they didn't look like scoring anyway. But once United scored, they just did not look like they were ever going to get back in the game. And Mbeumo's goal obviously played the role in that. He was good elsewhere. His movement was great. His link up play was really good. And yeah, it's just a very, very good performance from Mbeumo. And 3 points, Patrick Dorgo. I think he got an assist, and his overall forward play has been really good in the last few games. I saw United fans over the course of the season have slated him, and he hasn't performed well in some games, but he's a really good player. I mean, he's a really, really like electric player. He's been causing lots of issues for defences this season, especially since AFCON, he was moved into that progressive role, and he looked really good since he's played there. People have been calling him a new Bale. I mean, we don't really know that yet for sure. We had to wait till Madrid put 100 million on his head, but he played one pass in particular. I think it was him just across the pitch to Mbeumo. It's really, really nice stuff. It's just a lovely switch of the ball, and that kind of encapsulates the overall quality of his performance in that game. Chelsea 2, Brentford nil. This is a very, very flattering scoreline for Chelsea because I thought Brentford looked really decent in that game. They had so many chances they should have scored. Jensen hit the post. I don't know how Sharda didn't come away with at least 2 goals in that one. And Chelsea kind of let off a little bit. They got the penalty which Palmer scored to hide the fact that he did nothing really all game. And yeah, it just wasn't very convincing, I don't think. Chelsea didn't inspire a lot of faith in me in that game. It's result though, which is the positive thing. At this point of the season, you need as many results as you can because I mean you've seen with teams like Bournemouth, you can so easily drop off. Teams like Brentford, you can so easily just fly up the table this year that it's kind of a unknown, really. So the more points you pick up, the better. Which I mean, yeah, good teams they do well. They do well when they don't put in the performance that warrants the points. Brentford, it's really nothing to be ashamed about, to be honest. They played as well as they could have. I don't know what else they could have really done. Sometimes it's just not your day, and if you can't put the ball in the back of the net, it just yeah, it was just poor from them in front of goal. Like they created a lot, man. If I was a Brentford fan, I'd be really disappointed with the result. But once the cooler heads kind of prevail, then you can realise that look, you played really well. That's all you can really want. Chelsea away is not an easy place to go, and you're in a very transitional period as a club at the moment. You just need to establish yourself under the new Andrews regime. So yeah, it's still a positive sign for Brentford. Joao Pedro gets 1 point for that really nice little finish that he put in to make it 1-0. Well, I think was it originally given offside? Yeah, it was originally given offside and then overturned. Which I mean, VR did its job, fair play. But yeah, it's a really really nice strike. Gets points for the first time in a while now. Pedro started the season. He had like 6 points from the first like 3 games or 7 points from the first 3 games, and he's not scored any in ages. So it's refreshing for him to put a performance in on the board. It's a really good striker's finish that is as well. It's a kind of confidence I think in front of goal that he's lacked at times this season. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely good. He didn't. I don't think he had too much outside of the goal. I don't think there was really so much that he did. But I mean, if you open the scoring, then that's fair enough. You've put your team on the track to the result, and they got over the line in the end. Really, really big performance from Bobby Sanch in that game. He definitely deserves points. If it wasn't for him, I think Chelsea definitely dropped points. He put in some really monster saves. The one I can think of in particular is when Damsgaard passed it to Sharda. I don't know why he did it, and it just Chalobah looked like he just shot straight towards a goal, and then Sanchez was able to cover it. That was really big. I think it was 0-0 at that point as well. That was a poor decision from Damsgaard, but yeah, it's good save from Sanchez, and overall his overall goalkeeper play was really good, which is positive. I mean, that probably means that next week he's going to put in an absolute clanger knowing Sanchez, but hey, you take the wins when you can get them. Matthias Jensen gets 1 point. Off that flank, he was causing a lot of issues for Chelsea. There was a lot of chances for Brentford in that game, and he was a very big driving factor for that. Um, Kind of a bit like I think I've said it. His game time's dwindled slightly since Frank left. I think he was a big player like a season or two ago. He's kind of missing out on chance at the moment, coming on as a sub a little bit. But this is a good performance, man. If he can keep plugging away at that and keep putting those shifts in, then maybe he can claim himself more of a role under Andrews for the later part of the season. Man who's been recently picking up a fair few points, Vitaliano. He's from set pieces. He's a pretty decent threat. I mean, his crossing's great. He put in a few really dangerous balls in that game, and I don't think any of the strikers or forward players. Sharda was very involved but should have scored. Damsgaard made the poor decision, should have scored, and Thiago is a bit absent. So even though they had a lot of chances, I don't think any of them not can get points because they should have done better, in my opinion. And I think with these two that created a lot of those chances, they definitely deserve a lot of praise because well, what more can they really do at the end of the day? So yeah, it's 2 points for Yano and 1 point for Jensen for Brentford. Leeds Fulham is a bit of a cagey affair for a bit of it. It was a bit of a slow game. I mean, a lot of the games this week were pretty poor. I mean, you'll see with the player of the week this week, it's not the best, but I've not got a lot to choose from. And I mean, this game was one of them. It wasn't the most exciting game in the world. Uh, neither and Fulham weren't amazing. I think Leeds were just a better team. They did have a few chances. Did they score an offside goal as well? I might have happened, but yeah, it wasn't a great affair for Fulham. This is the kind of game that if you're gonna solidify yourself as a upper middle table team, which is you know what you'd think they want to do with the form that they're in. This is a game you really do have to win because Leeds away is not an easy place to go. I mean, Liverpool have dropped points there. Villa nearly dropped points there. So if you can get all 3 points or even some points at Ellen Road, then you'll be doing better than some of your rivals, which Fulham have failed to do in this instance, and Leeds continue to keep that stadium just a fortress and make it such a difficult place to go to. And Mecha comes on and gets the winner, so you can't really argue with that. For the little time that he was on there and the impact that he had, he definitely deserves a point. I think they were taking a piss a little bit on Match of Day because he came on and like fucked up like 3 times almost instantly after being subbed on, which is not. I think Farker probably had his head in his hands for a while after seeing that, but yeah, he scored the goal in the end, so he probably shut them like right up. And Ampadu with the 2 points, always a consistent player for Leeds. Longstaff's not been in the team for a while now, and he's really stepped up to be that leader that they've kind of lacked. Got the assist for a match, a great pass to the lad, and overall just a solid game from the geezer. Not a fantastic showing from Fulham, and the only person that can really come away with any like points, in my opinion, is Bernd Leno, putting a few good saves. Obviously, Fulham went on to lose in the end, and not really his fault. I think he couldn't have done anything with the goal. It was a really good finish. If it was 0-0, then I think he'd be getting a bit more plaudits for the shift that he put in because he made some really important saves in that game. But yeah, I mean, kind of let down overall by the team, and that's another goalkeeper with points. So you kind of know that it's not been a fantastic weekend for football if the keeps are picking up points already. Liverpool Burnley, this is not a good result in the slightest for Liverpool. You cannot be dropping points to Burnley at home. Their whole thing is that they're good at home, and they haven't even done that. Like, they've been okay at home and they've been pretty poor in away games this season. And for Liverpool to lose, well, not to lose, but to drop points at Anfield to Burnley is poor. It's very, very poor. Missed the penalty. Soboslai, if you can't get the ball on target from 12 yards, that is embarrassing. Like, that is really, really poor. Obviously, if it gets saved, if it's a decent penalty and gets saved, there's really not much you can do about that. But if you missed the actual goal, come on, man. Like, let's be serious here, please. You've got to be doing better than that. You're a professional footballer at the end of the day. I reckon all 10 of the players on the pitch could have hit the target from those penalties for Liverpool, and Szoboszlai didn't. That's a massive moment in the game as well. It was 0-0 at the time. If they score that, go 1-0 up that early, and if they get second, then that's 3 points. But at the end of the day, they've dropped points. Burnley really well done from their end, because Anfield's never an easy place to go. Doesn't matter how bad their form really is. But yeah, I don't think this reflects well on Slot or Liverpool in the slightest. It'll be the two usual players from the last few weeks that'll be getting on the points. Ekatike, kind of everything decent went through him in a sense. His overall play was good. He had to drop deep a lot because there wasn't too much happening for Liverpool in the game, and yeah, a very important role for Liverpool he plays, and he plays it so well. I do love watching Ekatike play. I think he's such a complete package in front of goal, and that's kind of rare because you get strikers that are either big lumps in front of the net or the channel players. So you got players like Evan Nilsson that are better at the movement, and Firmino that are better at the movement and linking up, and obviously still good in front of goal, but that's their strong point. And then you have someone like Haaland who will stick the ball in the back of the net on such a routine basis. And Ekatike is such a beautiful blend of both, and it's kind of what they've been missing since Firmino left. Another good showing for Wirtz. I think he scored. I do believe he scored, and yeah, did his job. I mean, he's starting to put in the performances now. He's starting to shake that flop curse, because even before he started scoring, he was putting in good games anyway. But he's got a few on the board now. Obviously, it's not against the best calibre of opposition. He got Burnley, Wolves in there as well. But yeah, man, he's doing what he can, and he's starting to look like money. Well, I say money well spent. It was so much money that you question whether it ever looks like money well spent. But he's starting to look. It shows some of the play that we saw at Leverkusen, and saw some of the hype that was deserved at the time. I think you can say it's fair. Dubravka, ever present in for Burnley, and that's in between them sticks. Had 1 or 2 poor games all season and put in a few really impressive saves. Again, he's been really good, man. He's been really good. People forget or overlook his performances this season because he's Dubravka and he plays at Burnley. But I mean, if a keeper was playing like this for like Brighton every week, I think there'd be a lot more lot more attention. I know obviously I'm not slighting Verbruggen in any way or anything like that, but I think if he was at a team that was higher in the league and playing like that, I think he'd be getting a lot more plaudits. And again, I did wonder why they didn't start Edwards the other game, and he started this game and he scored. He's a very good little player, Marcus Edwards is, and he won them the point in the end, which is a massive point overall. That will do so much for the morale of the squad. I guess the games are coming up this weekend, so we will see what happens there. But that was a really big from Edwards and gets 2 points, very much deserved. Sunderland 2, Palace 1. A result I actually saw coming. I didn't think Palace would score, but I I did believe that Sunderland would win that game. I'll give myself the credit here. Thank you very much. But yeah, I thought with the form that Palace are in, I did not think that they were going to come to Stadium of Light and get anything. I was surprised when they went 1-0 up. It was a really nice little finish that was from Pino, by the way. But after that, yeah, Sunderland, they showed their heart. 3 more points from losing positions. They might as well just ask to start every game 1-0 down, because then they're probably just going on like win the league. But yeah, it's a really good win for Sunderland. That is. Palace is still a good team, even the struggles that they're having and the clouds surrounding Ollie Glasner at the moment. I mean, he's not been sacked yet, which I'm kind of surprised at, because we know how speaking out against the executives goes. I mean, it happened to Amarim, happened to Maresca, and both got binned. I thought with Glasner leaving in January, leaving at the end of the season anyway, he might want a bit of a payday, he might want to take a bit of a sabbatical, wait for the United job, something along them lines. But Palace are stuck with him, and I guess we'll see how it's going. Mateta, please come to the Villa. That's all I really got. Mukiele is just always so good. Got an assist in that game, and generally overall play is just always at such a high level. This is not a guy that should be playing at Sunderland. He's been on the books of PSG and Leipzig for a while too, Champions League clubs, and every time he steps on the pitch, it shows why he's such a high caliber, why he's played at these teams, and I think I mean, in terms of signings, Xhaka's kind of overshadowed him a little bit, but I don't think we can forget how good Mukiele's been so far this season, and the fact that I think he should be playing consistently at a very high level. Bobby had a really good battle with Maxon Lacroix, which I'll give him Lacroix points. So I'll speak on that in a second. But his goal was really well finished. Really big presence for Sunderland up front. This is what I was looking for from Bobby. He did it when he came on against Chelsea. Pardon me. When he backed into Chalobah, was it, or Buddy Shield? I think it's Buddy Shield, and he held the ball up really well. He was doing that left, right, and centre for Sunderland in that game, and I said I wanted to see more of him, and we're starting to see more of him, and he is doing a really good job. Isidore started the season very well, but it looks to me as if Bobby's starting to take the mantle a little bit. I think he's on a permanent as well, which I mean, if they get European football this year, I think he'll his resale value will be great, but also he would have been a major reason why they got European football. So yeah, too. Another goal, another brilliant performance, and another 3 points for Mr. Lefay. Probably Sunderland's most underrated player this season. Obviously, the signings getting all the credit. Ballard as well, who was there last season, but Lefay's been fantastic this season. Another really well taken finish, gets them back in the game, gives them the belief that fight to try and get back in it and get the 3 points, which they did in the end. And overall, he just dictates the game just fantastically. So yeah, definitely deserving 3 points. Could have been player of the week given the poor, the poor caliber of the highest performers this game week, but I decided not to go with him. Yeremy Pino with 1 point. His goal was really well taken. Outside of that, Palace didn't have too much going forward. I think they're missing Sarr a little bit. Johnson hasn't been very convincing so far for me, and they can't rely on Pino like they relied on Eze or Elise or Zaha. I don't think just yet, he definitely has the potential to be that good, but just yet, I think he needs the rest of the team to be playing on his level to really sparkle. So, give it a few months, give it next season. I think he can be the main man. However, I think he's just the level below that what they need at the moment. But yeah, outside of his goal, nothing major. But he went 1-0 up, and that's a massive impact on the game. Lacroix's battle with Bobby was really fascinating because even though both of them got the better of each other quite a lot, both of them played really well. Like Bobby had to do really well to get round Lacroix, but Lacroix had to do really well to prevent Bobby getting round him. Bobby, not Bob. Fucking hell. Oh god, I was struggling to speak at the moment. But if you kind of see what I mean in that sense, they were both fighting really hard. I mean, Bobby mentioned it in his interview at the end of the game, and they both came off looking really good from that game. So that's 2 points each, which I think is pretty fair and pretty poetic given the way the game played out. Spursy, Spursy, Spursy. Oh my gosh. I mean, 1-1 at home against West Ham is a poor enough result as it is. But to not even be able to hold out until the final whistle, my days, lads. Like, I don't know how much more Frank needs to do to get sacked. I know they beat did they beat Dortmund in the week, but that I don't know. In my mind, that might be too little, too late. I don't know about it because there might be it's not the Europa League. They can't do the Ange thing. I don't think this year, and you can't. If they finish in the semi-finals and then finish 14th in the league, what are you doing next season? You got no European football. I mean, there's still a chance to get it. I don't think Frank's going to do it though. I mean, if they're putting their stocks in Frank going forward, then I kind of understand that. But it's Spurs. They sacked Ange after securing them the Champions League football and winning Europa League. Like they could have done something this season with him at the helm. So it's confusing to me what's really going on at Spurs. I don't think even Spurs understand themselves what's going on. But anyway, this is a very good result for West Ham. Obviously, it's not against the most informed opposition in the world, but they needed to start picking up points. Leeds won. Forest drew against Arsenal. Like these are points that they've gained, and a 1-1 against Spurs that would have been a little bit drab compared to those results. So West Ham had done a good job there. It wasn't the most enthralling game. West Ham actually had quite a few chances. Bowen wasn't completely on form as he tends to be, as he usually is, but yeah, well done West Ham. Romero's kind of only on here out of courtesy because he got the goal to equalise the game up. Um, they conceded 2 goals, neither of which I think were necessarily his fault. I don't think he was fantastic outside of them. He was fine. He did a decent job, but yeah, he's only really on there because of the goal, and I'm not going to shy away from that. That's kind of how it goes. It was an important goal. It made it 1-1. Gave Spurs a bit of a hope that they can maybe win the game or push on to keep at least a point, but didn't go through like that in the end. Ariola's been putting in some mega performances for West Ham as of recent, and I think people don't rate him because he's very mistake prone, which he is, and he has dropped a few clangers, but he is very hot and cold in the sense that he's like Bob Sanchez almost. He can drop a clanger, absolutely, but he is a very decent shot stopper, and that shouldn't go under the radar how good he actually is at saving shots when it comes to it. And if he can avoid making mistakes, then in a game like this, he's really made a difference in the end for West Ham. Callum Wilson with the 2 points got the winning goal in the end. I don't know why there were rumours that he would be leaving West Ham. I mean, they signed him on a free just to stick him on the bench and then get rid of him after 6 months. That didn't really make sense to me. He's been great. Well, yeah, I'll say he's been great when he's played. He's scored quite a few goals for them. He's been given pretty limited game time, but he's still actually put the ball in the back of the net. Some of the rest of the West Ham team have kind of struggled to do this season. So I don't really think there could be too many complaints from his end. And he won them the game, and yeah, it's massive 3 points that he. Surprisingly enough to some, surprisingly to me as well, this is Player of the Week for Game Week 22. Definitely the I don't want to say the worst performing team of the week, player of the week, but it was the least convincing player of the week. I think everyone else that's been player of the week has probably played that little bit better, but it was a pretty poor week overall. A lot of teams didn't play fantastically, so I've given it to some of them in the end. Looked just as electric as ever, but actually got the goal off. I don't care that it took a deflection. He deserved it. Definitely deserved the goal in the end, and yeah, he's been playing pretty well recently. I mean, us Spurs have been linked to him just because I think it's literally just because he scored against them. I don't think he'd be a good fit at Spurs. I think they've already got Odebear and players like that who play in a similar way. but I think Odebear's got a lot more potential, and you've already got Odebear, so it's not worth bringing in such a similar player. But in the game, he was good and good enough to warrant Player of the Week. Bit of a sweet corn in the pile of turd, but I mean, he did well, so fair play. I've not scored a Premier League goal in my life, so I can't judge him. Arsenal nil, Forest nil. Pooey, this game stank. Very, very resolute performance from Forest. Very, very proud of how they did. I think this is the wrong way around again. Start that again. Arsenal nil, Forest nil. This wasn't a very good game. In the sense that there weren't a lot of like goals scored, but if you look at the game from a it's interesting when the results like this happen against lower quality teams. I always think that it can be a good game, purely for the fact that this isn't a result you expect. You start to get to the later stages when you think Arsenal get a bit more desperate. It's a very psychological thing, and then you start to think, okay, Forest have done really well to hold out this far, and then this far, and then this far, and then the final whistle goes. You're like, fucking hell, well done, yous. I don't think it was. I mean, it wasn't in terms of physically kicking the ball a very entertaining showing, but from the thoughts perspective, it's like Forest. When you see the team hold out as well as they do, then I always enjoy that. And Forest did really well to see Arsenal out. Arsenal had a few chances though. I think they looked poor in front of goal. There was decent creations, but they couldn't really get anything from it. And Deutsch team was just as resolute as any Deutsch team usually is. He's done like, as best as he really can so far, Deutsch has. And with Lorenzo Luca coming in, I think he's going to make a massive difference because they've struggled in front of goal. So if he can just get crosses onto his fat head, then I think Forest might actually do really well second half of the season. Saka's performance from the right wing earned him a point, even though they didn't score. He was trying to create as much as he could for Arsenal. He was kind of the only one that really did anything massive in terms of a attacking three sense. It wasn't a good attacking showing from Arsenal. That's you just can't ignore that fact. But yeah, I mean Saka deserves a point. He definitely could. He definitely made an influence on the game. Like I see people slate Saka's output, but he's such a good player. Like such a creative player that I mean, if he had someone in front of goal who was like really good, then he'd have so many more assists from the chances that he already creates. So I don't think he can really be standard too much for it. Oliver Deck with 2 points, just as always brilliant, and he was the highlight for Arsenal. He was the only really like standout good performing player. Saka was solid. Saka was good. Rice was pretty decent. Like Rice had a really good game, and you don't want Rice to be your best performing player if you're an Arsenal fan. I'll be honest with you. I know he's great from midfield, but if he doesn't score, you'd want other people that more of an attacking influence to be better in the game than him. So it's a disappointing result for Arsenal, but Rice played well, which obviously you don't get points for, but you know. Murillo with 1 point. Again, I really like Murillo as a player, and I mean that recovery alone against Gyökeres was huge. So definitely deserving of points at least from that sense. Um, I do really like Murillo, man. Murillo's a really solid little player, but the only thing I'd say about him is like I think he can be a bit of a donut sometimes. Like with the slip, he could be a better defender might have kept their foot in. Obviously, it's just a slip, like it happens all the time. But in such a crucial situation, if it was anyone slightly more mobile than Gyökeres, I mean, I think even Raya would have gone on to score that. Then it could have been punished. But he did really well to get back in time. And outside of that, I think his play was good in general. So I'll give him 1 point. Sales was a massive reason why Forest didn't lose that game. Obviously, also didn't create much, but when they did, Sales was there, and he kind of showing the player from last season. I don't know why he was dropped for John for a bit because he proves against Villa that he's a bit of a donut, a bit of a donkey, a bit of a stiff idiot in goal. But yeah, man, Sales is a great keeper, and he put in a showing against Arsenal. Definitely deserved 2 points in my opinion. Wolves nil, Newcastle nil. I don't have a lot to say about this game. I really don't. Wolves did well to get a point against Newcastle. That's a difficult point to get, and the form that they're in at the moment is really solid. Newcastle, come on, man, you should be beating Wolves. I know they've started to turn things around a little bit, but it shows the inconsistencies of Newcastle. They can go from doing so well to scrape the win against Leeds and playing well in the Champions League to drawing 0-0 at Wolves. I think I'm surprised they haven't strengthened. I mean, they might have the financial restrictions on them at the moment, but I think if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be hoping for more players to come in the window because from what it looks like, they need to rotate a little bit more. Like they need players that can come on and make a difference, which sometimes they don't actually have. Like you see Alanga coming on, he's just done nothing. Like you could go out and get a young winger with a bit more like promise that you can give a bit of game time to and try and get build up. But it's not happening for Newcastle at the moment in the window, which is quite surprising because obviously they're so rich. I guess they're struggling with the money, but yeah, well done to Wolves. I just don't have much. It's a 0-0. I mean, I don't. Mosquera was really solid at the back for Wolves. I mean, overall their performance was solid. It just wasn't very much of a high output game, so there wasn't really much chance for people to really shine. But when they were called upon, Mosquera and you'll see who was in point number two did what they had to do, and they did it very well. Yeah, that is 1 point very well deserved for Mosquera. And it's another good performance for Jose Sarr. He's started to plug in a few points now. He started the season with 1 point and then kind of got dropped by for Johnson, who I don't rate as a keeper. And Sarr's come back in and done very well, to be fair, since Edwards' team started to turn their shit around. I guess that own goal really came out to bite him against Arsenal for Johnston. But yeah, Sarr made a few good saves. I mean, Newcastle didn't challenge much, but when they did, Sarr was more than the match to it. So well done to him. To say that Newcastle's biggest threat was Trippier against 20th in the league is pretty poor, seeing as they really should be beating Wolves. But he did well from right back. To be fair, Trippier he proved there's life in the dog yet. I think if Livermore injured again or was playing left back, yeah, whatever happened when Trippier came on, Miley moved into the midfield, and Trippier did a good job. His crossing was great. Newcastle couldn't find anyone at the end of them though. Voltemada didn't do very well in that game, which isn't Trippier's fault, but he did what he could kind of from his end, so it's 1 point. The issue with this performance for me is that we sold Marlon loaned Marlon out. We lost Marlon basically. Whether he goes in the summer on a permanent or not doesn't matter at this point. But we lost Daniel Marlon. That's the matter of fact. We've got such a threadbare squad at the moment with Sancho ill and players out that when McGinn comes off injured, we bring Gesson on, and then what? Like we had four defenders, we had Jimmo and Hemmings, we had two keepers on the bench and Gesson. That if we are struggling to score a goal, like we were, or we have an injury, like we did, and we need to bring someone on, then what do we do? Like if Rogers had a knock in that game or Watkins had a knock in that game after McGinn, we're fucked because we don't have anyone else to bring on. Obviously Sancho should be on the bench, but he wasn't. So our decision with Marlon there was poor, and it showed in that game. Watkins was awful. Rogers couldn't hit a barn door for whatever reason, and we spent a lot of the game trying to walk the ball into the back of net. We should have scored more than we did, given the chances that we had. But Everton were really, really defensively solid, and in the middle of the park, they kind of ran us off the ball. Bogard was very hit or miss. He'd either do really well and make the challenge, or just give the ball away. Torres was good until he made the mistake for the goal. I don't know what Martinez was doing as well. Just gave it straight back to Barry, and Konza nearly cleared it. It was just such a frustrating day. It really was. It was a massive win for Everton, though. That's really well done from them. They managed the game fantastically. They struggled in the first 20 minutes. McGinn was doing really well until he had to come off, which is unfortunate. He's out for a few weeks now, and we are going to miss him. We have just played our most recent game against Fenerbahce. We definitely didn't struggle for chance creation there, but yeah, I mean, we are going to miss McGinn. Well done for Everton, but yeah, it is frustrating because that was a chance. 4 points off Arsenal, second in the league. We should have really, really taken it, and I'm disappointed that we didn't. It's hard to say good things about Everton when I was so like downbeat about how we played, but yeah, I've kind of settled myself down since. Obviously, it's been a while, obviously now, but since that game, I've had a bit of time to think. It's not that bad. We are still doing very well, but it is a missed opportunity. Matson off that left back was in the left back position was doing really well getting forward. He is really like for a left back, his ability to get down that wing is great. He's really fast. He's very good going forward, and I do wonder why we start Digne sometimes over Matson, because if we're struggling for chance creation, we kind of just get the ball to Matson. Matson always looks to do something when he gets the ball. That's the difference between him and Digne. Digne is a lot slower paced of a player. Digne will keep the possession and look for an opening. Matson will be try and be much more involved in that process. He wants to make it happen from left back, and that's such a valuable asset to have. Like in that first half, especially, he was doing that all half, and then he got taken off for Digne, and Digne just couldn't match him, not at all. Yeah, it's very well done by Matson. I think he's starting to favour at left back is starting to very much swing in his favour. I wouldn't be surprised next season if we actually let go of Digne and brought someone else in as a backup and just started Matson every game. Tielemans, even though we lost the game, was fantastic. His passing was great. His composure was great, and he did not deserve to be on a losing team in that game. We've had Onana play 15, 20 minutes against Fenerbahce, and he just looked sharp. So I'm pleading that he can come in in the Newcastle and just get him just slot straight in, because that would be amazing if we could have him and Onana Tielemans in midfield. I'd be more than happy with that while Kamara's out for a bit. Yeah, man. Tielemans is just great. He's such a good player, and the fact that we got him for free, every game that he plays just makes that deal just look so much worse for Leicester and so much better for us. Tieno Barry scored the goal. Barry Park, yeah, fuck off, mate. You're not clever. Celebrated for a lot, for like a while in front of our fans. I don't know why he was doing that. Um, Obviously shit house, fair enough and whatever. But it seemed weird. I don't think we're giving him that much stick. He was a little bit absent until the goal went in. His pressing was good beforehand, but yeah, he took his chance when he got it, and he's starting to score. I've liked his performances for a while now, a lot longer than he started putting. I liked his performances for a while before he started putting numbers on the board, and he's starting to put numbers on the board. Beto's definitely been sat on the bench now for Barry, so yeah. Like it was in the other game for Everton, you could just flip a coin for the centre backs, but I've gone with O'Brien for this one because aerially I think he was so important and he made so many blocks from our shots. Whenever we tried to get from like the 18 to 12 yard range, well 18 to like no, I'll say 21 to 15 yard range. He was always there. He did really well in that game. He's just a man mountain of players. Throw-ins, just great as well. Just arrowed them into the box. And yeah, O'Brien's a really good player. Do you think he deserves more points than I've given him this season? But I mean, it's Everton, man. They've had so many outstanding players. So yeah, guy's a bit unlucky, but what can you say? And absolutely ran the show. James Garner probably should have won Player of the Week, to be honest with you, but I think Somerville's thing just Somerville's performance and his goal just about edges over Garner. He is a player. Um, I will not be surprised if he's not at Everton next season. Since Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, and Ndiaye haven't played as much, he has so stepped up and he's really taken the mantle. Also, I'll touch on Grealish. He got pocketed, but Cash had him on strings pretty much all game. He tackled him most of the time going backwards and took the ball around him a lot as well going forward. So take that, Jack, you knob. But yeah, I shouldn't be speaking about Jack Grealish from the moment. I should have said that for the start bit, but yeah, Garner, well done, mate. Another 3 points. He's far up the leaderboard now. He's had a great season. And Brighton won, Bournemouth won. Not a brilliant game, to be fair. I caught what I could of the highlights, but I didn't get to watch the game while I was at work at the time. Bournemouth needed that win a lot more than I think Brighton did. If they could have held out at the end, then that would have been great for them. But then it's good teams, man. It's what they do. Brighton are a very difficult side to beat, especially at home. So you can't ever take anything away from them. And what a way to win the game as well from Costulas. So yeah, fair play to the kid. It wasn't a fantastic game from what I saw from the highlights. It wasn't very exciting. And Bournemouth again dropped points. They I think they've signed one or two players. I can't for the life of me remember their names off the top of my head, but there's a young midfielder and I think a winger as well that they've brought in. So that I'll be waiting to see how well those lads do. But I thought Brighton weren't great in the game, and they looked a bit more like the losing team until Costello came on, and obviously that goal. I mean, you gotta love a bicycle kick, don't you? It's a lovely bit of showmanship, and he executed it so perfectly. That'll be what that's it. Alariza Jackambach is grinning at his telly at the moment, but yeah, well done, Costello. I do want him to get more game time, man. He's scored two or three goals this season now. I think he's looked alright when he's played, and I want to get a feel of him for FM saves. So come on, Brighton, do me a solid. Actually, no, don't play him because then it can be cheaper and I can sign him for cheaper. Actually, yeah, don't play him ever, Brighton. George Petrovic with 1 point. Whenever Brighton kind of had a looking of a shot, he saved it until obviously the bicycle kick. Literally nothing you could do about that. It was fairly balanced in terms of shots. I think Bournemouth had more of the chances from what I remember. I mean, I didn't watch the whole game, so obviously I might be wrong. I'm going to preface that, but from what I saw, Petrovic dealt with Brighton well, and yeah, good performance from the keeper. Had a couple of clangers recently, but he's building himself back up a little bit, and this is a good way to start doing that. So fair play. And it was Tavernier with the goal, I believe, from the penalty spot. He's a really good player, man. I like Tavernier a lot. He stepped up when Semenyo's not in. I think when Semenyo started to perform a bit badly, it was more on Tavernier to do well. And now that Semenyo's gone, I think it will be on Tavernier to do a lot. Him and Kluivert will have to, and everyone else will have to make things happen for Bournemouth. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Bournemouth go forward. And a win here would have been great to kick off life without Semenyo, but yeah, it's unfortunate in the way that they lost out in the end for them. And your player of the weeks are at the top of your screen as you can see them, and all the way across here. Haaland's still on his own, but in bad form at the moment, you know. Erling's struggling a little bit, and the closest to Semenyo's Bournemouth points, Rice has edged out a bit of a gap. Ekatike as well, and then the players that I've waxed so much lyrical about this season. And Buemo's jumped up a little bit. Lefay too. Dubravka's 15 points. See what I'm saying? And then we scroll across. We can see your lists as they start to go down. A lot. I would be interested to know how many players are actually on the thing. I think I could probably find out at some point. I think there's one way of working it out, but yeah, I might do that at the end of the season, and then when the season stops, I'm already thinking of ideas, and then you play the weeks as they are here, and Somerville kind of putting all these names to making them feel like embarrassed to sit on the list with him maybe because I think they all played so much better than he did in that game, but it was a poor week, so what can I do really? And that's all for me. I'm gonna get these two in the same episode. I'm gonna edit this hopefully by the time I'm recording. It's a Thursday. Hopefully, I can get this done tomorrow. Get it posted tomorrow before the weekend starts, and then get back into my usual regular habit of getting it done in the week. So, yeah, I need to sort that out soon. But thank you very much for watching, boys. Have a good one.